Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the SIG issue. Why? Everyone's talking about the SIG issue. What a great opportunity for a video or a series of videos. I'm not going to do a series of videos, I'm just going to do one. So we have here is not a SIG P320. This is the SIG P365. There is no magazine. This gun is emptied for the video. Alright, hollow, nothing in the chamber there. And yeah, where do we start? So if you live under a rock, you would not have heard that the SIGs have issues with the guns firing by themselves. Gotta throw a little air quotes out there because it's kind of suggested that they fire on their own. I'm not sure if any gun is ever fired on its own. There's a multitude of things happening that would cause a gun to fire without pulling the trigger. But it's interesting. I mean, so obviously some stuff happened, everyone heard about it, news spreads like crazy. We have the internet, you know, something happens on the other side of the world, 5 seconds later, 1 million people know about it. But this was multiple things that kept happening and happening for weeks and months. And then recently, a military guy lost his life to this, so it became more laser focused in the news and people talking about it. And of course, if you have a gun channel, it's just, you can't help yourself but give your own opinion on it. And that's okay. That's what people do. It's the biggest gun news in a long time, right? Everyone's talking about it. Some people are sick of it already. Who cares? It's interesting to see, what side people get on. So the issue, if you haven't seen it really, is that on the SIG P320 and similar guns, you can pull the trigger back less than 1 millimeter, and that would disengage the safety so that if you manipulated the slide properly or whatever, it would fire, right? So that's obviously a big deal. And a lot of people have the right, obviously talk about it. It's obviously going to be talked about. When you're talking about guns in general, reliability and safety are just right there at the top, right? So people like certain gun companies, certain brands, certain models, because they are reliable, and safe. Reliable and safe. Right? At the end of the day, these are guns, so they're really only as safe as you, the person handling them, or whoever you give them to, or whoever happens to find them. So there's human error there. Now, if you're defending this, if you're a SIG fanboy, or you just don't think, it's just not rubbing you the right way, and you're just annoyed by it, and you're like, hey, listen, this is a person's problem, it's not the gun's problem. Or I've seen people throw out statistics like, there's millions of these guns made, so hey, if 40 of them fire on its own, whatever, it's normal. I've seen multiple videos where people are recreating this in dozens of guns, dozens of brands, all different types, right? Springfield and Glock and, I mean, you name it. And they're replicating the instance where if you pull the trigger, you can manipulate the gun to get it to fire before the trigger is supposed to fire the gun on its own, right? So the idea is if you pull the trigger a little bit or a lot, but you don't actually pull it all the way, something else can happen and it can fire. I don't know what happened in the case of the officer who lost his life. The story that I heard was his gun was in the holster, okay, and he put it on a dresser or table or something, and then when he walked in front of it, it fired. There's a lot there to really take in scientifically, right, and logically. So nothing literally pulled the trigger, but if the trigger is set and it's like ready to go, and I don't know if the shape of the holster, maybe something was in the holster that just pulled the trigger that little bit less than 1 millimeter needed, whatever the case was, it could have been a hang fire. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Maybe when he took the gun and holster off, it actually did, like by putting it on the table, maybe put down forcefully or something, that did actually trip the firing pin to fire, but it was a hang fire, and by the time he walked around, maybe then it went off. Who knows? Really, it's anyone's guess. That's the whole point. I doubt that happened. That would be like a 1 in a billion chance, but who knows? So the idea is the guns are unsafe. So there's a couple things for me to talk about here. Number one, I want to tell you my history with SIG. I have owned one SIG gun, and you're looking at it. That's it. I got this P365. I got it from another person. So there was an original owner. This is the original model. And he had traded me for some knives. And I was excited to try a SIG. I love the P365 specifically because it held 10 rounds. It was subcompact, small. you know, that was a huge sell for me. The higher capacity, it's kind of what kicked off the whole, let's see how many rounds we can get in a tiny gun thing. SIG was known as a reliable company. It was good products, good quality. People love them. So I love to try it, right? I get the gun, and it's not working. What I mean by not working is when I'm firing, I fire 3 or 4 times, and then there would be a very light primer strike. All right, so the gun would fire, but it's not hitting the firing pin is not hitting the primer hard enough to make the round go off. So I had misfires, and it was happening often, quite often, right? This was kind of a known problem. All right, bum deal. Guy who sent it, I mean, he didn't mention that, but that's, who knows, you know how the deal works. I could have got it at a gun shop, wouldn't have made a difference. No animosity whatsoever. Got the gun a lot cheaper than buying it, so I was cool with it. It was fine. Essentially, the guy who sent it to me was, he just had an unfunctional gun, didn't want to bother trying to fix it, so, get some knives for it, and that's cool, that's fine. So I had sent this back to SIG. It's the only gun in my entire life I've ever sent back to the company because I had a problem. SIG sent it back to me. It wasn't that long of a process. I thought it would be dragged out, but it was pretty efficient. Bing, bam, boom, got it back. And I was anxious to try it out. I put 2 boxes of 100 rounds, 9mm, just range ammo, ball. I think it was Winchester white box maybe. And it worked fine. Then after that, I put some, I want to say a box of 20 Hornady Critical Defense in there, just to see if hollow points didn't have any issues at all, because it wasn't an issue feeding at all. It was just an issue with the light primer strike. So I don't know if it was a weak spring, or I forget you guys probably know what the original issue with these guns were, but whatever. It seemed like it was resolved. So at that point I said, okay, fine. I trust it enough to be a backup gun. Occasionally I carry it, not often, but there's something in the back of my mind there. It's like, is this gun gonna have an issue? Because it has a very soft, just no gun sounds or feels like this does. So let me pull the trigger here. Let me show you. Again, it is completely empty. It is absolutely empty. Here we go. It just sounds, it's such a squishy, burnt, I don't know. Like even the Glock. The Glock is a staple gun. All Glocks, right? Horrible trigger. But it just, I don't know, it feels crisp. This one feels spongy to me. So I don't have like 110% I have enough confidence, obviously, to rely my life on it. It is a backup gun. It is a gun that I'll have in my vehicle as well. It's not the only one, but yeah, if I grabbed it and went off with it, and I'm relying my life on it. So I feel good enough about it, but it's still like a little questionable. Anything, if it broke before, you have to wonder, is it going to break again? You don't really know, right? So it just is what it is. But the reason I told you that story is because my only experience with SIG has been that it had a problem. Now, yes, they fixed it. A+ for them, right? Hopefully they fix this problem. But I think SIG, it still makes, at least for many years, and things do change, by the way. You can have an amazing company that makes awesome products, like, let's say, Toyota. Wonderful reputation for decades. And all of a sudden, they just suck. That is a real thing. That happens. You can have a great company that just sucks at some point. Who knows why? Different owner, different management, different people in charge, different people making choices, budget cuts. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. The point is that they do sell millions and millions of guns. I'm not defending them, by the way. I'm trying to come in at a very neutral point. I don't think there's a lot of guys who will just never trust it again. Bad publicity is definitely bad publicity. I promise, from this day forward, 10 years from now, someone's going to be at a gun shop somewhere and they're going to be like, hey, let me take a look at that SIG. And some other dude's going to be standing next to him, just a customer looking at guns, and he's going to go, I don't know, buddy. Did you hear what happened with SIG? And they're going to go, oh, no, I don't know. What happened with SIG? Oh, those guns, they fire by themselves. You don't want to get one of them. That's a no bueno for me. And then he's going to convince that guy that they suck. That's going to happen. That's already happening in droves. I've actually heard of gun retailers that are not buying them because they don't know if they can resell them. There's a bunch of people panicking because they have their $600 to $1,000 plus guns and they can't rely on them. They don't know if they can carry them, if it's going to work, or they're going to shoot themselves, so they're worried about it. Now they're getting shoved back in the safe. They're becoming range guns, and not carry guns. So yeah, when you start worrying about it, it doesn't even matter if it's true or not, or if you have to worry about it. It's already in your brain. A seed has been planted in everyone's brains. Most people, I shouldn't say everyone, because there's definitely going to be people defending them and naysayers. But I would say at this point, from what I've seen, the majority of people watching this drama unfold are like, yeah, SIG sucks. I'm not going to carry, at least that model. There's different guns that function differently. The striker fire thing might become an issue for you. Like, yeah, I'm just not going to go with anything striker fired from SIG or whatever. I'm just saying the details matter to different people. But in general, it's bad. It's really bad. I think if they lose their military contract because of this, it might actually be a nail in the coffin. Like, they might just go bankrupt. They might fail as a company. That's a reality. Some people are like, laugh at that. Like, oh, they're too big. They're, you know, everything changes. One day Glock will just not be a gun company. That's just real. You might not live long enough for that, you know, but that happens. Look at all the stuff that's happened since you've been alive. Look at the gun companies that went out of business because of lawsuits, because of public shootings and stuff. It's just insane, but everything changes. My point really is that everyone's talking about it. It is juicy drama. People love drama. It gives people a chance to argue about something. Again, I've seen both sides. You can take almost anything and you can argue both sides of it. So in this particular case, you got guys going, yeah, duh, if you pull a trigger, it might go off. So you don't have nothing to worry about because you don't have to pull the trigger unless, you know, you're following the safety, gun safety, and pointing in the right direction. So you have those guys, like defending SIG, going, it doesn't matter, no big deal, you know, if you're touching the trigger, you should be shooting the gun anyway, kind of stuff. Then you got the, hey, this is dangerous, I don't want to carry it, guys, and I don't care if a hair falls on it, the gun should not go off unless the trigger is fully pulled. So there's the two sides of the argument. There's a lot more of these guys, though. A lot of people going, yeah, this sucks, it's stupid, it's not supposed to do this. And then like a handful of dudes sprinkled in going, it's not a big deal, all guns do that. There's a lot of guys actually saying like, oh, Glocks do that too. That's a very common defensive reply. Because what ends up happening is when you pick these different things, like you're like, listen, I like SIG, I'm going to pick a SIG, I'm going to carry it every day. Like, that's your choice. So I say this all the time. If you hear guys saying that your choice sucks, you get defensive. That's natural. It's with anything else. If you carry a knife and you're proud of your knife and every single day you use your knife, and then one day someone's like, hey, what kind of knife you got? And you show them and you're like, yeah, that sucks. What are you going to be like, oh man, you're right, and then not carry it? No, you're going to be like, screw you, buddy. This is the best knife I ever had, you know, and you're going to argue about it. Everyone has an opinion, right? And you know what they're like, and they all stink. So that's just how it is. Now, the other part of this I want to talk about real quick is how I don't care. In fact, anyone out there, I'm hoping these things get sold for, you know, $10 each because people are going to think they're useless and dangerous. Here is the silver lining for carrying Condition 3. I know so many of you guys laugh at me, you think it's crazy and stupid, I carry Condition 3. You're dumb, buddy. You're going to get shot one day. You're going to go pull your gun out, and you're not going to be able to, you're going to have one arm because the other one got shot off. You're not going to be able to rack your slide, and you're dead in the water. Okay. I mean, I take the chance. It's fine. But I'm going to throw some crazy statistics at you guys. You ready for this? 100% of all negligent and accidental discharges happened with a round in the chamber. I know it's crazy. They're proven statistics. A gun will not fire a bullet unless there is a cartridge in the chamber. It's just a fact. It's just how it is. Also, with guns like this, the gun will not fire if the trigger is not set, right? If you do not, let's say, you're at, again, we're going to check it again, because, you know, every time you pick up a gun, touch the trigger, you should be looking at it, making sure it's empty. It's empty. All right, you fire. Now, that's it. The trigger has been pulled. It's no longer set. So this gun, even if you put, well, in this case, you can't put a round in the chamber without pulling the slide back, right? But let's just say by magic, there's a bullet in there again, right? A cartridge. It won't fire because the trigger is not set. So in these guns, that's the other argument, is that because it's fully set, it's easier to go down and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into semantics, that kind of stuff. The point is, because I carry Condition 3, which looks like this, nothing can happen. Nothing can happen unless I put a round in the chamber. That's a silver lining. So all the guys are pissed off that they can't carry these guns. I mean, I can carry one. I can carry a pig. I can carry a SIG. I could carry a tactical pig, but that just seems way inconvenient. Plus, I got to feed the thing. I can carry a SIG P320 with full confidence that I am 100% safe, because I know it's impossible for that gun to just go off, because there's nothing to go off. Does that make sense? Again, it's a little silver lining. Even though you guys think I'm stupid for my choices. That's fine. I fully accept that many years ago. Not trying to be cool. Not trying to fit in the club. All right? I'm not a tactical, operator or anything. I'm totally good with the half second to full second it's going to take to load a round if I need to shoot my gun. I'm good with that. But I'm like kind of laughing in the background because everyone's like, oh man, I don't feel safe carrying that. I do. So I'm hoping that the gun shops fill up with them and I can go have my choice and pick a couple up for, $30, $50 each. Who knows? I doubt that'll happen. I'm sure anyone who's no longer trusting in it will probably sell it cheap, but not that cheap. Who knows? I'm hoping, and what's probably going to happen is in order for SIG, well, I don't know if they can afford to, but I would assume that they would have or allow a recall. The problem with that is that there's just so many damn P320s, right, and alike. There's just too many. I don't know if they can actually, fit the bill for that, or foot the bill, rather. So I don't think that'll happen. So far, they're defensive in their statements. If you've seen what they've, officially said about this situation, they're kind of like, nope, your problem, not ours. We're good. Yeah, the whole thing's crazy. It's good drama. It's fun to watch. I've seen dozens and dozens of videos. It's interesting to see people's different takes on it. You've seen it with the famous screw. Someone had commented. I mean, some of the comments are funny. My favorite comment is SIG stands behind their guns because they're too scared to stand in front of them. That I thought was actually pretty clever. But then someone else said, like, the wood screw that took down SIG. That's funny too. It is what it is, guys. I mean, if you have a gun, you want to know that it's not going to obviously fire without anything happening. There are other factors. Guns don't fire by themselves. It's the situation that they're put in that they could fire without touching them. That's a possibility, right? They don't fire by themselves, but certain guns in certain situations, if you do drop it and there's not a good drop safety or it fails or something, if it falls out of your pocket, it could go off. Or, as you've seen in this case, there could be a situation where, the gun is manipulated, not the trigger touch, but manipulated where it does go off. It moves enough that the internal parts move around and the safeties move out of the way and the, firing pin slides out and that's it. Boom. Who knows? I'm saying that I'm waiting to see, like everyone else, I'm kind of anxiously waiting to see how this ends. It's crazy. Some people, like I said, though, you get something in your mind, like the drama with Benchmade and they being anti-gun when they chopped up those guns for their police department and stuff. That was crazy for like the knife world because you see people just like take sides. It's like, oh yeah, boycott them and never buy again. They suck, blah blah. And then you get the people that are just, I don't care, or you're not understanding. It's just interesting. It splits the community, right? And I mean, yeah, there's a gun community and a knife community, but really it's just a bunch of dudes liking the same stuff. There's no other things tying them together. In fact, if you have let's say you take a bunch of knife guys and you put them in a room, but you take the knives out of the room, they're probably just going to argue about all kinds of stuff. They don't agree on politics. They don't agree on how you live. They don't agree on your freedoms or choices or anything. It's just the knives are the glue. So you get two dudes opposite in every form of life, but they both look at the same knife and go, cool knife. And then they look at each other and go, dude, you think that's cool? And the other one's like, yeah, I think that's cool. And then they talk about the knife. But if he talks about something else, then they don't like each other and they leave. Same thing happens with every hobby, guns, cars, you name it. So in this case, the gun community is fighting with each other because of a disagreement on this particular situation. How it will end? Who knows? I have no idea. What I would love to see is I'd love to see them fix the design. I'd love to see SIG bite the bullet, so to speak, no pun intended, and give people partial refunds as a sorry, whatever they can do financially. I'd like to see them stay in business and make a good product. I don't know if they can handle this financially because, again, between lawsuits and loss of sales and, like I said, if they lose that government contract, that's just so big. It is so, so big. And other people have focused on this. Like, you could get those contracts and not have to worry about civilian, sales. Who cares who likes SIG? As long as the government is buying them, we got a steady paycheck. As long as the police force, the police departments are buying them, we got a steady paycheck. So those contracts are massive for these gun companies. It's a big deal. I don't know. I see it's like 50-50 to me. I feel like they could just send out new parts to replace the other ones for the military, but it might not be cost effective. But I don't know what the details on those contracts are. I haven't seen that information, so I don't know if even if the military says that these suck, I don't know if they can back out. Maybe they've sworn to purchase it for 3 years or so. Who knows? I don't know the details. But if they do lose it, the public will. They already have a bad name now, right? Now it's just a bad name. Every gun shop in America, you walk in there, someone is going to be talking about SIG. They're going to be talking about this, the P320 and the other ones. It's going to be the conversation for a while. It'll probably take some other big gun news for people to move on. Otherwise, this will be dragged through the dirt, and the horse will be kicked over and over and over again until something else happens. So we're all just having to kind of sit back, wait, watch people's opinions on it, and that's it. And I can understand and agree with everyone's opinion. Like, I could see both sides. I could see that, like, hey, even though this is happening, if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's less than 1% of these guns have a problem. It happens. Every gun company has problems. Glock, the perfect, gun company, they have had their problems before too. Nothing in this world is 100, like anything mechanical, we know it can't be guaranteed reliable. Everything has a possibility of having an issue. You just have these statistics of how often they really are issues and how unlikely they will be issues. That's all. I'm voting for, SIG. I'm rooting for them. I hope they, I think their guns are cool. I just can't afford to buy them. That's all. I'd love to have more of them. I'd love one of their military versions just to have it as a piece of American history, regardless of whether you like them or not. I have a 1911. That was a military issue gun. I have a Beretta M9, which is a military issued gun. I'd love to have the SIG, but I don't. But like I said, I mean, for me as a consumer and not caring about a gun going off in condition 1 or condition 0 is a non-issue. So that's nice. So if they get cheap enough, I don't have to worry about it being safe. So here's the other thing I want to talk about too, is like if I pull my gun out, I mean, obviously you don't want a gun that has a possibility of going off in its holster. That is the issue, of course. But if I pull a gun out and point it at someone, I want it to go off. I don't, I'm not making false threats. I've never pointed a gun at a person in my entire life. As you guys know, if you've watched my old videos, I have taken a gun out because I saw a person. There was a roof, chimney sweep that was on my house, pulled in my driveway, and there's a stranger on my house. I didn't know he was a chimney sweep yet. It was just a stranger, a dude on my roof. So I drew my gun, but I kept it at my side. I never actually pointed it at him. I asked him what was going on firmly, and as soon as I assessed the situation and realized that he's not a threat to me, that's it. My gun went away, and the problem went away. But had he given me any kind of, inkling that he was going to hurt me or was trying to hurt me or whatever the situation is, like, I could have used my gun, but I'm not going to brandish it. In other words, I don't have any thoughts of like just calling people's bluff, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of situations where people will pull a gun as an intimidation factor. That's not good. I know in certain situations it can actually help, but you're really playing with fire there. You know what I'm saying? Because once you pull a gun, now you've given someone else a reason to defend themselves and so on and so forth. And it really depends on every individual situation. But I wouldn't do that. I would either not point a gun at someone, but if I do, I'm intending to use it. I'm not calling people's bluff. I'm not trying to scare anyone or intimidate them. That is not the way to do it. That's getting some dangerous territory. And again, just rolling dice with your life. So, SIG... good, bad, I don't know, it's still in the middle for me. I don't really care. It is what it is for now. I would like to see this get resolved with the company staying in business. That's all, because I love options, and like I said, there's so many SIGs I never had before, and I'd love to try out. I mean, obviously they're in the marketplace. Even if they go out of business tomorrow, people want them more. Regardless of whether they're safe or not, if they go out of business, all those guns will go up in value, because that'll be it. You'll never be able to get another SIG, so everyone's going to want the old ones, right? That's how that works. Supply and demand. Anyway, let me know your opinion in the comment section. Like I said, it's funny because people say like, oh, I hate drama, whatever. Everyone loves drama in some form. Maybe just a little bit. Like, I'm not enjoying this, but it's entertainment. We all want to be entertained. It's something to look forward to. Oh man, Bill made a video on this. I got to see Bill's video. Oh no, Nick made a video, and your favorite gun channels are like, oh, they talked about it, and you can't wait to click on it. You can't wait to hear what they have to say about it. Are they for them, against them? What are they talking about? So everyone's loving it. People are soaking it up. It is entertaining. But the people who are not entertained right now, the people who make money at SIG, right, the owners and the board or whatever they have, they're all sweating right now. They don't know what the future holds. And we don't either. So we will see. Only time will tell. I say that all the time. Only time will tell. So stay tuned on the SIG drama. And if you have any information that I didn't mention or talk about, feel free to put it in the comment section. I don't know if I'm totally updated on this. I see random videos here and there. But like I said, if you do anything remotely with guns, everyone's talking about it. So you can't help but hear about this, right? So I saw the videos, I saw the demos and stuff. You know, my opinion, it's not good. I don't think it's good. It's not a good thing at all. And a lot of people, a lot of owners are worried about it. And that's a big problem. So we'll see what happens with it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.